Hello, hello. Welcome to this edition of the Black Belt News Network newscast. This is live on January 12th, the 1-year anniversary of the tornado that hit Selma. I'm Cindy Fisher, and I'm publisher.
I'm Todd Prater, staff writer.
Yeah, so we're going to dedicate most of this broadcast to talk about the tornado recovery 1 year later. It was a big impact to the Black Belt as a whole, considering it's the Queen City of the Black Belt. And also we've had bad weather today. 1 year later was predicted to be really rough today, and many schools closed. It is not turned out to be the event that we had heard it would be, which is a blessing. I tried to go live an hour ago with this, but the weather was terrible. So, and Todd lost his power and internet.
Lost power for a while, yeah.
So yeah, we're here in the Black Belt too, guys. We're right next door to you. We hate it, and it's the worst weather when it happens like this, but here we are. We're live now, an hour later, and I'm on the Alabama River here in Dallas County, and it is actually at peak levels. It's not flooding yet. We're at 37 feet, and a bad flood would be 68 feet.
Yeah.
So it could go 30 more, but we don't want it to. But it has been sideways winds, and I took my wind chimes in, so I don't know about you guys, but it's been pretty busy. What about you, Todd?
Yeah, it's been, we had a couple of really heavy rains here in Valley Grande area, and it was kind of ironic, or kind of funny, because we had heavy rain and the power was on. The sun came out, the power went off. Power finally came back on and it started raining again.
Welcome to the Black Belt.
Welcome to the Black Belt, exactly.
So we actually have a really great story from one of our correspondents about the PTSD stress that comes up with today that has happened this week with a lot of folks, really fearful of severe weather again 1 year later. And if you check out blackbeltnewsnetwork.com, you'll see that story about the eerie feeling people had that was the word in the headlines. Look for that. And also some of the storm damage has caused issues with our water pipes from severe storms earlier this week. So we will, at the end of this newscast, we'll talk about the water situation in Selma, which they lifted the boil water notice today. So that's a plus. But the city of Marion has also really struggled, and we have covered that a lot. So blackbeltnewsnetwork.com, you'll see coverage also of our print edition of the Selma Sun had a big recognition today of the 1 year, what came out yesterday, the 1 year tornado 1 year later. And we have some of that coverage posted at selmasun.com and blackbeltnewsnetwork.com. So we wanted to just kind of remember 1 year later. Also tomorrow, Saturday, from 10 to 12 is an event at Arts Revive on Church Street in Selma to have the National Weather Service is going to be there. And this is a 1 year after the storm. They want to get your input and stories. I know we all have one of where we were and how we got out and about and how we survived. No one died last year, guys. This was such an amazing.
That's amazing.
God was watching over us that day. And but we did have a lot of damage, and 1 year has been a rough year. So attend this event. We will be there. Todd and I will be there. So will James Spann. And really, the Thunder Truck from one of the weather guys there in Montgomery. So I think it's a good idea for the community to come together and reconnect. And also, we are live right now. So if you want to give us some comments or ask us some questions from the videos we're about to show, we have been covering this. This is Selma Sun and the Black Belt News Network. We have been covering this tornado from the minute it happened. We were both in our houses when it happened. So and I have a lot of photos, videos from minutes after to just a few hours after. And then we also have some 1 year later video that we're going to show here in the next in this newscast that might take us a half an hour to get through. So
Yeah,
y'all
it may take us a while, but we got a lot. And
we have
that's
a lot.
just a small tip of the iceberg of what we've actually got, because we were both out within an hour after the tornado getting video.
Oh yeah, I mean, 10, 15 minutes after. Yeah, I have photos and videos from that. So we are going to show a lot of that video, but you can comment, send us comments, and let us know how you got through the tornado. We'll share that with everybody.
Yeah, that's good.
Because we are live right now. I can see your comments come in live. All right, so I want to give a visual to the 1 year ago when it hit at 12:20 p.m. on January 12th, and then some 6 months later, and then 1 year later. This is JL Chestnut. I was also on JL Chestnut within an hour after, around in this section, but I don't think you and I were together at this point.
Yeah, we were. I believe that's where
we might. Okay, no, this is 6
this
months
was about,
later.
4 days ago.
Okay, this is 4 days ago.
Right.
JL Chestnut. Things are getting a little better. Maybe I'll take that headline off so you can see it. Yeah. So, and I've got another one from JL Chestnut. This is the intersection.
Right.
What, an hour later?
That's an hour later, right? I sent Donnie ahead, and he took that video of all the activity. That's where
he was with me, so I was there.
As you could say, ground zero of the tornado was right there at the intersection of JL Chestnut and Broad Street.
Yes, that's Good Samaritan Hospital was back there.
And this is about 4 days ago. Donnie and I were driving down the road.
4 days ago.
So this is the same basic area, just a year later.
Right. And, I look at the data. So we got information from the Long-Term Recovery Committee and from FEMA and Black Belt Community Foundation, which raised $1 million and has given it out to various organizations as grants to do work that's directly helping people. $460,000 raised by United Way for repairs and help. And they also are building some houses. We'll show you that in a little bit. We've got some video of those houses being rebuilt. We also, this is interesting numbers of how many people applied for FEMA assistance, how many had no insurance at all. Look at how many people were renting their home, which I think has been a big problem with our reconstruction, is that we had a lot of rentals and homeowners that are absentee owners that, if I'm renting, I can't apply for FEMA help to rebuild that house. The owner has to do it. Exactly. You also have a lot of houses that have been owned by the family for a long time that may not have the deed in their hands. It just got passed down family member to family member. If that one got hit, then it is harder for them to show that that is their house and to apply for FEMA help. But we do know, and that's from Terry Sewell's office, says they got $10 million in FEMA money for this area. That's huge to help rebuild the major areas that were demolished. I mean, this is Vaughn
Drive. That is
along Dallas
3 or 4
Avenue.
days after the tornado, when they had cleared the roads enough to drive, and you can see how much damage was done. Of course, by that time,
are already working.
Yeah, they were putting tarps up. They were actually just tarping the roofs at that point because nobody had. I mean, this is just like I say, a day, 3 or 4 days afterwards. So no insurance had been really contacted yet. Everybody was just kind of reeling still from it. That actually is the United Way house right there, where Jay Gilmer has his office for United Way.
Not Jay Gilmer, but
I'm sorry, not Jay Gilmer, but
Jeff Cothran. Yeah,
they worked together on the long-term recovery committee.
Which they redid that house to house people that come to donate their time.
They do, and now this is 6 months later. As you can see, there's obviously still the scars are there. There's a lot of scars, and still are some scars. But 6 months later, many of the homes on that street had already been restored or repaired.
A lot of metal roofs.
Yeah, a lot of it, and this is, it's kind of a good microcosm of most of the city. Many of the homes 6 months later were repaired. A lot of
This
it
is
was
1 year later, right?
This is just a couple of days ago,
Right.
about one day last week. So,
And that
but
tree,
still,
that tree looks like a tornado tree.
it does, doesn't it? And it is. I mean, there's the
It
house
is.
is still, obviously some people have either chosen not to rebuild, or they're still having problems, or having issues with their insurance, or they still have a long road to hoe, so to speak. There's your United Way house again.
Yep.
And a lot of that
Yes.
going on all over Selma, where it's
Yeah.
still it's not over yet, and
Let's
in
go
that
to
neighborhood.
Old Orville.
Oh, here's Old Orville, and to the left is the Bowling residence, and they were hit really hard. Tornado just demolished everything there. We'll have a story about their year later coming up in the next few days. I talked to Carl about that, Carl Bowling, and this is 6 months later. You can see things a little bit cleaner, but then they went in and completely cleaned it out. And just about 3 or 4 days ago, we have video of what it looks like now going down Old Orville.
Yeah, those trees.
I'm sorry.
Still look, those trees. Those are the tornado trees. Anyone who's been through a tornado knows.
Still looks like tornado trees. Obviously, still bearing the scars, but a lot of cleanup has happened over those the 12 months since the tornado. But there's still a lot to be done, and it's the reason they call it. And Jay Gilmer said over and over, it's called the long-term recovery for a reason, not just for that committee, but for Selma, Dallas County, and even the counties around us that were affected as a whole. It's going to take a long term to recover completely.
And send us your news and your recovery story. News at blackbeltnewsnetwork.com. Let's look at this is also approaching JL Chestnut.
Right. This is Marbury Street, the very end of Marbury Street, right where it connects with JL Chestnut. And that's the Historic Presbyterian Church. What was it?
Reform.
Senior moment.
Reform.
Yeah, Reformed Presbyterian Church. Then 6 months later, they had cleared out the wood debris and left the foundation. Of course, the house next to it was demolished. But unfortunately, a year later, just about 3 or 4 days ago, I drove down the same street and noticed they completely raised everything. The house is gone. The foundation is gone. That lot is completely clear now. It's been all completely removed.
And that's not unusual. We're seeing that a lot of folks just did not rebuild. Now, we did get information that a lot of the businesses relocated. We did a story within the first 6 months or so on how the businesses were doing. I know we got an SBA economic injury loan to help us through that first 6 months because, businesses are not advertising. We all struggled through this. So there you are, Todd.
Yeah, we had a little hiccup.
I lost you for a minute. Okay, so Miss Minnie Sue's. This is another one.
Yeah, Miss Minnie Sue's cottage over on over there where it is got hit pretty strong during the tornado. McLeod lost the roof, lost the chimney. They were able to recover most of the chimney bricks. The roof has been restored, and there's plans to restore the chimney in the near future. But a lot of good progress in the Heritage Village. Unfortunately, the slaves' quarters in the Heritage Village was completely destroyed, and it's completely gone. But the other buildings, they were either damaged slightly or weren't really affected bad. They're all there. So I don't know if they're going to, and I say they, I mean the Historical Foundation. It's the Selma Dallas Historical Preservation Society owns all that, and they're working to restore as much as they can.
So when I was on Dallas within 15 minutes, Dallas Avenue, and I actually saw Cross Point Church. As everybody knows, that one, the daycare was demolished and it landed on the kids. No one was hurt. The teachers had them in a safe space. I'm going to share with you a video that I got within that first. This was 2 hours after I came back. And you can see that the skies are blue and clear compared to some of my first stuff that was just, torn up. This is Tom Nichols. Just take a look.
This part. So you ran from your car to here.
Right. It was raining so hard. And I ran, me and another coworker, we remodeling a house over here in the next neighborhood. The reason we came, we're so close, and we ran over, and it was just utter chaos. No other way to explain it. It was raining so hard you couldn't see, and then as we made entrance into the building, you could smell the gas and the children just crying, and it was just horrific. I don't know other way to explain it. And we were so concerned about the children, even though they were safe and the storm hadn't hurt them. We were really concerned about their well-being with the gas and a possible fire. So we had multiple things that was going through our mind, and it was just, it was kind of a life-changing experience, to say the least. It really is.
So I actually have another video with him where he came close to crying. We had to restart. Yeah. So he was at the Jack's, which is 2 doors down from Cross Point, eating. I don't think he mentioned Jack's, but he was right there, and then came and helped. But when I got it was like he was stunned. He was there 2 hours later, standing in front. So it's one of the photos that I used in our package, but he was standing there just stunned when I walked up to him and asked him questions, and then put that mic on him and got this great video that he was like he was still considering what had just happened, and that everyone was okay.
It was a miracle, and I got a chance to sit down with Pastor David Nichols, pastor at Cross Point. You know, last year when it happened, I went to a service they had on the grounds, and maybe we can link that package once I get the other one, because I got to sit down with David and talk to him a year later.
Yeah,
he's got a wonderful story about how they've come through, but he does talk about, like you were talking about, the PTSD, the stress. The children and the adults that were in that building when it collapsed are showing those signs a year later, because especially with the weather prediction that we had for today.
yeah,
all coming. It'll be up in the next day, maybe Sunday, Saturday.
So, yeah, speaking of like the forward looking, we also you went out into East Selma, which was hit super duper hard.
Yeah, it was hard.
And our goal sorry, that's my dog. Our goal with this edition was to talk to folks, see what's going on about for future, fixing things. So let's look at who this is.
That right there is one that's actually being funded by the United Way through the Long-Term Recovery Committee. That is the Mennonites from Ohio that are down rebuilding a house completely from ground up. That's on MLK Street, and they were out there working hard. Jay Gilmer said that they've actually increased their numbers and are going to be in Selma through March, rebuilding homes, repairing some homes, but rebuilding a bunch of others as well. And there's a story about that on the blackbeltnewsnetwork.com about how they're ramping up. That's Laney's on Mentor that got completely destroyed. They've rebuilt. We haven't had a lot about them yet. We're going to make some contact and find out more about that.
They weren't completely destroyed. They were still in business because I went by there. Yep, they still were operating, but they wouldn't let anybody in.
Right.
So they were already going to do some plans of rebuilding, so they just tore it down and started over.
And this is that's right. But this is Samaritan's Purse. This is another group that's been in town often. And they've been in town they were here for the 2020 tornado, the Zeta, and now they're here again for, was it 2020? Anyway, they were here for the tornado in March. It hit over in Burnsville. The Zeta hurricane.
That was 2021. Zeta was October 2020.
That's right. I got them backwards. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Samaritan's Purse has been a wonderful partner with Selma to come in town and help people clean up, rebuild, repair. And obviously they're rebuilding 2 houses just a block over from the one that the Long-Term Recovery Street Committee is building. So a lot of rebuilding, a lot of positive actually going on right now.
Yeah, even though it's a year later, we're grateful that it's happening.
Yeah.
And
that's something you say, even though it's a year later. One of the things that you'll see in the story that is up on Black Belt News Network, Jay Gilmer said that this is a long-term recovery committee for a reason. Not just that one committee, but everybody who's having to rebuild. They've got government entities to deal with, and that's a long, slow process. There's people still working with the insurance company, the Bowlings, the story that's coming out in the next couple of days. Carl Bowling told me he's still working with an insurance company to get everything settled, because it just takes that long when you're dealing with these companies and when you're dealing with government agencies that provide some of the funding. So they all ask people to be patient. It's going to take a little longer, but it's going to happen. It's just going to be a slow process to get it done, which, again, is positive movement. And that's the main thing that you want to see.
Yeah, and we do hear that things went actually pretty well with FEMA, and a lot of insurance companies have really come through. I just know it's a long process.
And speaking of FEMA, both Jay Gilmer and Jeff Cothran have praised FEMA for the things that they've done and how they've stepped up and really helped here in Selma and Dallas County and our surrounding counties as well. So
let's talk about the Selma water.
Yes.
How did this come to be?
Well, last Monday, we had severe weather move through, and in Selma we got nearly 5 inches of rain, and because of that, over on a couple of streets in downtown, the soil is very sandy. It got saturated. Pipes were able to move underground, and when that happened, one of them blew out a plug. The other one developed a hole, which caused the water pressure to go low, caused groundwater to seep in, and because of that, there was a boil order that was in place. This is actually a water give out that they were doing last week, so that the people who are in the affected area, which is north of Highland.
I think this was Wednesday this week.
I'm sorry, it was this week. That's right. The one coming up next was next week. Was last week.
Last week was Marion.
The mayor, Robert Bridges of the who heads up the water department, there he is right there with the mayor, was telling that there was no problems with the water. The mayor even said it's not contaminated. It wasn't. They did test it. They had the boil order as a precautionary measure. And, of course, the whole story is up on blackbeltnewsnetwork.com. But they had the water fixed that night. But because of the situation, they had to send off samples. The samples obviously came back with no problems. And as you said, they lifted the boil order.
Today.
Right. Yeah. And one of the things that, the mayor was talking about in that particular press conference, he mentioned Marion water and how Marion's had problems too. There's a little bit different though. And we're going to talk about that too, because whereas this was a result of bad weather and it was just a temporary thing, it was just a short time, Marion has had problems over a long period of time because of an aging system that some of the pipes are as much as 90 years old. Their whole system is old, and the treatment plant over in the city of Marion is 60 plus years old. And so they are in the process of restoring it. But as most people know, and if you've been keeping up with Black Belt News Network, they had a pump go out Christmas Day. And when that happened, their water pressure dropped. And again, they had low water pressure, had even shut the water down for a little while to allow the tanks to refill. This was a water giveaway last week that they were doing. And by the way, Selma Area Food Bank provided water for both Selma and Marion to give to the residents who needed drinking water. They have since replaced the pump. It is working. The water pressure is back. Everything is copacetic, good in that respect. But the aging system in Marion is still a problem. It has been for a long time. Residents are unhappy with that situation, and they have been expressing that unhappiness. But the city is in the process of rebuilding the system, but it takes a lot of money, and it's going to take a lot of time. They've been getting grants and doing the work as they go. Already, multiple millions of dollars has been spent on the treatment plant and the treatment plant right now. Sewage is next.
But lines, and this happened in Jackson, Mississippi, not that long ago.
There's
a problem throughout the Black Belt of crumbling, aging infrastructure. And it is something that we here at the Black Belt News Network will be on top of in the next year, because that is something that is vital. And we hear Marion residents complaining about brown water, and this was before the pipe broke.
That
So
was before the pump
these
went out.
issues
Yeah.
have been going for a while, and it is time that we, as a community, get a handle on where are we with the plan to improve one of our basic necessities. And send your news to news@blackbeltnewsnetwork.com, because that is the one thing we're trying to keep up with. All of our markets, we cover 6 counties, and Dallas, Perry, Wilcox, Marengo, Lowndes, Montgomery.
And speaking of Perry and the Marion water situation, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that Perry County, at the Perry County Commission meeting, sent a letter to the Perry County Water Authority, which is a completely separate entity, urging them to invite Marion to connect to the Perry County system, which Marion already said, yeah, we will do that. We want to look into that as a backup measure. But it's not a simple process. There's chemical concerns because of the different wells and the different chemical makeup in the water. There's also infrastructure concerns. Marion sits higher than the rest of Perry County, so getting the water to Marion is a concern. Plus, Marion's pipes are so old in some cases, the pressure in the Perry County system could possibly be more than their system could stand. So there's, and this is just one system. This is one county. But this, again, as you were mentioning, is a problem that is across the Black Belt. There are solutions, but you got to, again, just like with the recovery of the tornado, it's going to take time to iron it all out, figure out the proper process, and put it into play. So that's one of the things that people, especially when it comes to water, have to understand. But again, as you also said, that is vital to life. That is vital to not only life, but to the economy. If you don't have water, what business is going to locate in your
No
town?
one's coming. That's right.
Exactly.
Well, we will stay on top of that at blackbeltnewsnetwork.com.
Yes, ma'am, we will.
We have one last story that we wanted to share this week, and it is about a new homeless shelter
Another good
in
news story.
Selma.
That is the Dr. Winston Williams homeless shelter that was started by one of the, I'm going to tell you something. Pastor John Grayson and his wife Cece are two of the most wonderful people that ever walked this earth. They have nothing but good intentions for everybody. Pastor Grayson and I talked, and he said, I really had no intention of opening a homeless shelter, but he saw a lady sleeping on the streets when he was coming back into Selma from Montgomery a few weeks ago. Actually, it was in November. And he said, okay, well, maybe we need to do it. But he said, I had an argument with God. And guess what? God won. And when I saw that lady,
He always wins.
So he said, yeah, we had the building. He said, God told me, you have the building, you have the ability, you got the people to do it. Why not? So he said, well, I can't argue with God. So he did, though. But they opened it up. It's been open since November. They had just a few people at first, but now they have the capacity for 20. It's an overnight thing, too. He said they come in the afternoon. They check them, make sure that it's safe. They've got some safety measures. They'll give them a bowl of soup, some hot coffee. They have lights out at, I think he said it was 10 o'clock. And then they get up the next morning and go back.
And it is a good thing they're doing this now, because we are about to have an Arctic blast come through.
And that's what the cold weather that we had back in November, he said that's what prompted him to go on and open it. And like you said, couldn't have been too late. Not a day too late.
Well, we just want to thank everybody for joining us for this special edition of the Selma Tornado 1 year later. We will be 1 year
later after Selma Tornado.
Thank you, Ronald Nutt. He says great information. Thanks for sharing. Thank you. Appreciate you being on. But we do want to say tomorrow is the 1 year anniversary gathering. We will be there. We are thinking about going live. So if Wi-Fi will behave, we might go live. And we will show you guys what's going on in the moment. And maybe we can get James Spann on with us. What do you think?
That'd be cool. Wouldn't that be neat?
Yes, it would. He's usually really gracious about meeting with folks. So we will be there tomorrow. If you have something that you want us to cover in the Black Belt, send it to news@blackbeltnewsnetwork.com. And as I always say at the end of our newscast, big thank you to our sponsors. Randall Miller Funeral Service. Yes, yes. Thank you, Randall Miller. Really believes in what we're doing here in Dallas County in the Black Belt. And it does such a great service for the community for Selma, Dallas County. And also follow us. The best way to keep up with what's going on in the Black Belt is to stay tuned to what we're posting on Facebook, Instagram. TikTok is doing very well, y'all. I've been posting stuff on there almost every day, and we're getting 700-800 views, which I think is a lot. It's pretty good for TikTok. It's noisy on there.
But we also, we're a year old, or not even a year old.
I know, we're not even a year old until March 1st. But also YouTube. We have a lot of these kinds of videos. This will be posted at YouTube and also at blackbeltnewsnetwork.com. So yeah, that is this week's edition. We will see you guys next week. So stay safe. Bundle up on Monday.
Yeah.
And we will see you at the next newscast.
See y'all next week. Have a good week.
Okay. So we had like 15 or 17 people at one point.
We're still live.
Oh, we are?
Hey, we're